AuroraRL is a mixture of space exploration and rogue genres, in the tradition of games like Starflight and Star Control. The RL in AuroraRL stands for roguelike, though in some ways it's more like a visual novel than a rogue. You take control of a ship, the Aurora 2, in the hopes of saving humanity. The Earth is in peril, and the Aurora is the final hope in finding a habitable planet. There are also mysterious subplots that emerge involving missing astronauts and the various diplomatic relations between the other races that inhabit the galaxy. Once I started playing the game, I was immediately charmed by the presentation. All of the gameplay and story sequences are depicted with colourful pixel art. The game also excels in the music department, with a range of eerie synthesized sci-fi tracks. However, despite the good music, the game's sound is rather disappointing. The story sequences aren't voiced, and there are only 10 sound effects in the whole game. Which brings me to a point. The moment you start a new game in AuroraRL, you're immediately presented with a huge wall of text to read, followed by a long dialogue sequence. This rapidly becomes a common theme in the game. Every time you land on an important planet or encounter an alien race, you're pulled out of the action, and you're expected to spend 20 minutes reading through these long story sections. I like games with a deep and detailed story, but I feel like this went a little bit overboard. Perhaps all this text would have been better off as an optional journal for the player to read, like we see in Skyrim or many modern RPGs. Perhaps this problem lies in a bland translation, since the devs are Russian. As a concept, I really liked the idea of the game. You have this giant galaxy to explore, filled with a range of mysterious planets, all with their own life forms, civilizations, and stories. You fly around in your ship collecting research artifacts and resources and following quests. It has a very rich and complex story, and the game has a nice combination of dungeon crawling mixed with the handcrafted missions. Most of the gameplay, whether in spaceship mode or on the planet's surface, is presented in a turn-based tile system, like most rogues. There is also resource management, economy, and trade. The combat, however, is probably the weakest point of the game. It boils down to simply clicking the fire button repeatedly until the enemy is dead, with little or no flair or sound effects. Another irritation is the fact that you cannot move diagonally across tiles, which is a staple of most rogue games. This means that during space travel you're constantly moving around in right angles, which doesn't seem very efficient for these futuristic spacefaring humans. Ultimately, AuroraRL is an early access game, and I think it shows a lot of promise. The broad concept of the game is great, and it's good to see someone update the Starflight formula. Currently the price on Steam is $5, and it's packed full of a lot of content for that price. I think that on a rainy day with a warm cup of tea, you could sit down and really absorb this game and the story and really get into it. But if you're looking for an exciting roguelike or an action-packed space exploration game, then I think the devs still have a bit more work to do.